Think about your earliest memory. Really think about it. How old were you? 3, 4, maybe 5? Now think about everything that happened before that. Your first steps, your first words, your first laugh. Gone. Completely gone. You were there for all of it. Your eyes were open, your brain was running. You were experiencing every single moment, and you remember none of it, not 1 second. Scientists spent decades assuming they knew why. They were wrong, and the real answer changes something about how you think about who you are. For most of the last century, the explanation was simple. Babies don't form real memories because their brains aren't developed enough yet. The hippocampus, the part of the brain responsible for storing long-term memories, is immature in infancy. So memories can't form, can't stick, can't last. Simple, clean, logical. Except researchers kept finding things that didn't fit. Babies as young as 6 months old can remember specific faces, specific sounds, specific sequences of events. Studies have shown that infants remember experiences from weeks earlier, reacting differently to objects they've seen before, recognizing voices they've heard, responding to melodies played to them in the womb. The memories are forming. The brain is recording, the hippocampus is working. So why is everything gone? That question sat unanswered for a long time. And when the real explanation finally emerged, it came from a direction nobody expected. It wasn't about the brain being too undeveloped to form memories. It was about the brain being too active to keep them. Something was destroying them. In the early 2000s, researchers studying childhood brain development noticed something unusual. During the first years of life, the brain isn't just growing. It's generating brand new neurons at a speed it will never reach again. Millions of fresh brain cells flooding in constantly, faster than at any other point in a human lifetime. Think of it like a city being rebuilt while people are still living in it. New roads going in, old buildings coming down, entire neighborhoods rewired overnight. The city keeps functioning, but nothing stays in the same place for long. That's what's happening inside the infant brain. The new neurons push into existing networks. They reorganize connections. They rebuild the architecture from the inside. And as they do, the memories already wired into those networks get dismantled, not faded, not blurred. The physical structure holding them together gets taken apart and reassembled around something new. The memories don't drift away. They get demolished by the construction happening around them. Then researchers decided to test this directly. And what they found stopped people cold. They took adult mice, animals with fully developed, stable memories, and artificially increased the rate of new neuron growth in their brains. Gave adult brains the same explosive growth rate as infant brains. The mice started forgetting, not slowly, not gradually, immediately. Memories they had already formed, places they knew, roots they had learned, things they had been trained to remember, began disappearing. The same process destroying memories in human infants was now running in adult animals. And when researchers slowed the neuron growth back down, the forgetting stopped, just like that. The conclusion was deeply uncomfortable. The very process building the infant brain, the thing making early childhood such a critical window for development, is simultaneously destroying its own record of that development every day. Construction and demolition running at the same time. The brain growing forward while erasing the evidence of its own past. But the neuron flood isn't the only reason. Even the memories that survived the demolition have another problem. Memory isn't just recording, it's filing. It requires a system, a way of tagging experiences with time, place, context, meaning. That system is called autobiographical memory, and it doesn't come fully online until somewhere between ages 2 and 4, which means even the memories that do survive the construction process have nowhere permanent to go. No folder, no label, no way to be found later. They exist briefly, then they're gone. And by the time the filing system is finally ready, the experiences that needed filing have already disappeared. Think about what that actually means. You spent the first years of your life fully conscious, fully present, experiencing things with an emotional intensity most adults rarely reach. Everything was the first time. The first taste of something sweet, the first face that meant safety. The first moment you understood that the world kept existing even when you stopped looking at it. All of it felt, none of it kept. But here's what nobody tells you. The memories being destroyed aren't leaving without a trace. In the 1990s, researchers studying early childhood trauma found something that reshaped the entire field. Adults with no conscious memory of early experiences were still being profoundly shaped by them. Patterns of attachment, responses to stress, emotional triggers that seemed to arrive from nowhere, fears with no origin story, comforts with no explanation. All of it tracing back to a period the person had no conscious access to. The memories were gone. The effects weren't. Psychologists call this implicit memory. The body and the nervous system holding on to experiences the conscious mind can no longer reach. You don't remember the moment someone picked you up when you cried, but some part of you learned from it. You don't remember the voice that soothed you in the dark, but something in you still responds to that tone of voice differently than any other. And that raises a question that is harder to sit with than it sounds. How much of who you are right now, your fears, your instincts, your deepest emotional responses, was shaped by years of experience you have absolutely no memory of? How much of your personality was written in a period you can't read? How much of what feels like just you, just the way you are, is actually the residue of moments you lived through completely and forgot entirely? The answer is more than most people are comfortable with. There's one more piece, and it's the strangest one. The forgetting isn't random, it's weighted. Research has consistently found that emotional memories survive longer than neutral ones. A child who experienced something frightening at age 2 has a slightly higher chance of retaining some trace of it than a child who experienced something ordinary on the same day. Not a full memory, not a conscious recollection, but a residue, a mark in the nervous system that the demolition process didn't fully reach, which means the first years of your life, the ones you remember nothing of, weren't erased equally. The moments that mattered most to your nervous system left the deepest marks. Even if you can't find them, even if there's no memory attached, even if you will never consciously trace where they came from, they shaped you anyway. Researchers have recently begun asking whether this early amnesia serves a purpose beyond being a side effect of growth. One theory suggests that forgetting is necessary, that a brain trying to hold on to every infant experience while simultaneously building the cognitive architecture needed to function as a child, and eventually an adult, would be completely overwhelmed. The forgetting creates space, clears the path forward, allows the brain to develop without being buried under a flood of unprocessed early experience. You didn't forget your first years despite your brain working properly, you forgot them because of it. The erasure was the feature, not the flaw. Think about your earliest memory one more time, whatever it is: a room, a face, a feeling, a fragment of something you almost can't hold on to. That memory survived something extraordinary. It survived a demolition process that erased almost everything around it. It survived years of construction that dismantled and rebuilt the very networks it was stored in. It made it through all of that, and it's still here, which means whatever that memory holds, whatever moment, whatever face, whatever feeling broke through the erasure and stayed, it mattered enough to survive when almost nothing else did. And below that memory, in the years before it that you cannot reach, you lived an entire life. You felt things for the first time that you will never feel for the first time again. You were shaped by experiences so early and so deep that they became part of the architecture of who you are before you ever had a word for any of it. You just can't remember any of it, but it's still there. In the way you feel safe around certain people and not others. In the things that comfort you without explanation. In the fears that arrive before you can name them. In the version of you that existed before you knew you existed. Running quietly in everything you do, in everything you are.